welcome back to Wounded on Sixes. Today we're going to be going over a Retaliation Cadre list I'm thinking about bringing to my Warhammer 40k League event should I end up taking the Tau. We're going to go over the list, all the enhancements, reasons for the units being in here, and a couple of substitutions I think I might make should I bring them to the League event. Let's get started. We're going to first start off with the support packages. And first up, we're going to have 2 units of 10 Crute Carnivores. I think the Crute Carnivores work really well in Retaliation Cadre because you're always very suit heavy, particularly crisis suit heavy. So it's really nice to have some extra screening units out there. Plus, you can also sticky objectives with them, which is really nice. I thought about bringing the 20-man, and you certainly can, as we do have some points built in should we want to change it to a 20-man. But honestly, I think I want to go with the 2 10s just so that I can have one on my back objective and then use the other one to screen out, most likely the middle of the board. Since I'm not really bringing any Riptides in this list, I'm going to need a little bit more screening than I usually will since I don't have that big kiting unit. Moving over here, and on advice of many on this channel, as well as others that I've talked to in the community, 2 units of stealth suits. Now, I have always been under the opinion that you should bring 3 units of stealth suits. And honestly, when it comes to something like a Monka or Cayune list, I'm still willing to die on that hill that you should have 3. However, I'm going to go with 2 here, simply because we're not reliant on any kind of round bonus, nor are we reliant on any kind of detachment bonus that we get from guiding. Most of our detachment bonus comes from being closer to our enemy units. So in that case, we can get away, I think, with having less stealth suits than we normally would. Again, if you're getting something like lethal hits or you're ignoring hit and roll modifiers because you're guided like you are in Monka and Cayune, I still think that you want to have the 3 units of stealth suits. But I'm going to go with the 2 here simply because I don't really need that, as I'm just really concerned with board placement, board control, and making sure that I am pre-measuring my moves before I make them, as movement's very important in Retaliation Cadre. Rounding off the last of the support units, I'm going to have a unit of Vespid Stingwings. Again, I think these should always be stapled to the back of your list, mostly because of their uppy-downy ability, the ability to get them anywhere on the board and start scoring secondaries. Tau are all about the secondary gameplay, and these guys help you to play that at an expert level. So if you're not winning games or you're not scoring as high, it's because you're not bringing Stingwings and you're not bringing uppy-downing them every turn. Like I said, I've starting them on the board, usually screening out my backfield and then popping them up turn 1, and then every turn popping them up and down, making sure that I'm not putting them in places where they can get shot off the board, nor am I trying to be aggressive with them. I'm just trying to score points. Coming along to the crisis suit units in this Retaliation Cadre list, we're going to start with a unit of Starsights led by Farsight himself. I like the Starsights with burst cannons when I'm not bringing a commander other than Farsight, just because I think if you're going to bring flamers, you also need to bring a commander that has a couple of flamers on board. As you know, 6d6 flamers can go awry, whereas 10d6 has way better, kind of probabilities of coming up with a lot of attacks. The burst cannons are really nice because once we're in Ret Cad range, which we almost always are going to be, these guys are really going to be punching up with a whole bunch of AP because of the detachment bonus, as well as the +1 to wound from Farsight. We're really going to attempt to get these guys up there. And this is a pretty powerful unit. I mean, even with just Farsight leading the unit of burst cannon Starsights, I have taken out units that you wouldn't believe. Namely, a unit of Pink Horrors, which is really impressive if you've ever fired up against Pink Horrors. Moving along here, we're going to have 2 units of Fire Knives. One is going to be the Missile Knives. Everybody's going to have missiles in here. This is one of my favorite units in the game to use. I usually like to start these guys on the board as they have a 30-inch range. Really good fire support unit. You can pop them up onto an objective or onto a ruin that you've been hiding behind very easily. It allows you to get another drop on the board as you're going to be starting a lot of stuff in Deep Strike, like the 3 other Crisis Suit units we have in here. So I really like this unit as it's a lot of attack, strength 7, -1, 2 damage, which we can get to strength 8, -2, 2 damage with the Retaliation Cadre detachment rule. It's really nice there. We're going to have a second unit of Star Sights. These are going to have plasmas. And then we're also going to have a commander who's going to have a cyclic ion raker, 2 plasmas, and a burst cannon. And we're also going to give them the prototype weapon system so they can switch between sustained and lethals. This unit is a really good anti-elite infantry killer. It's really good at taking out things like Terminators, or big hardy moving units, things like canoptic wraiths, usually really hard to punch through. The 3 wounds that they attach make those feel no pains units way less effective. So that's kind of what they're here for. They're here to kind of dig out a pretty difficult unit, and the fact that we can maybe make the commander have lethal hits can allow him to kind of punch up into things should we need to use the unit for those purposes. Last but not least, we have a unit of Sunforged led by a Cold Star commander. Unlike the Enforcer commanders here, we want our Cold Star to be able to run up and do whatever he wants. I usually like to use the Sunforged as a rapid ingress target just because we can get so much extra movement with the Cold Star. He's also going to have the Star Flare ignition system, so this unit's going to also be able to uppy downy. So we can really precision strike a lot of enemy monsters and vehicles with this unit. It's going to be way easier for us to mark a target, so we're not going to have those problems we used to have with the old For the Greater Good ability, where it was hard to get a guide for this unit because we were always dropping it in the backfield or something like that. It's so much easier to mark targets now. We're almost going to guarantee that they're going to get that better ballistic skill. And this unit can really slap, especially in Retaliation Cadre, because you're getting that extra strength, that extra AP, particularly if you rapid ingress them and run them into a unit rather than just relying on the deep strike. Although we can deep strike with outside of 6 with a stratagem, but again, it's kind of expensive. If you can, to save on CP, just kind of use the rapid ingress with them. And again, having that Star Flare ignition system is also really important because it allows you to put this unit where you need it rather than fully relying on its movement profile to get you where you need to be. Also, it can pop it up out of harm's way if we need to. For more heavy support, we're going to have 3 individual units of broadside battle suits. Now with the changes for the greater good, I've really gotten into having the single broadside units. It makes their profile so much smaller. They're a harder to target unit. They still can really slap. Rather than bring the weapon support system, I have been bringing the plasma gun or the plasma rifle just because I want to have that much more firepower with them than I normally would. But they are like really impressive with the new For the Greater Good ability, and I've really enjoyed running them because they are an all-around unit. I mean, their rail rifle is super effective, and also their secret missiles can be super effective, but they can also draw a lot of firepower and take a lot of fire. I mean, they're 8 wounds. You can get them up to 10 wounds if you want to bring shield drones, but I personally like to bring the missile drones. I just want these guys to be little gunboats that I can put around the board and really cause havoc with my opponent's enemy lines. I then have 2 Ghost Keel battle suits, and these guys are some of my favorite units in the Tau Codex. I really prefer them over the Riptide and Retaliation Cadre, mostly because they are lone ops, so if an enemy is going to have to get within range of them, they're going to be in the Retaliation Cadre range. Their lone op ability makes them really strong. Having 2 of them on your natural expansion objectives, what I like to call the Build a Night Workshop, means your opponent's most likely not going to harass your natural expansion objective, especially if they've played against Tau and they know what a ghost kill can do. The ability to just tank so much damage, especially with those stealth drones ignoring 2 failed save rolls. Any opponent worth their salt will kind of see what's getting set up on your natural expansion and ignore them. And ignoring these ghost kills is not an easy thing because their cyclic iron rakers are 36 inches. So, we can really cover a lot of the board, ensure that we're holding down our natural expansion objective really easily. And because we're bringing some carnivores here, we don't need to rely on these guys to be like those big screening intermediate units. We can really lean on the Build a Night workshop because we have a little bit extra, cheap screeners. And setting up on that natural expansion with these guys has paid many dividends to me in games because opponents just kind of give up on trying to take out the 2 ghost kills that can continue to provide firepower across most of the board. Last but not least, I have a Skyray gunship. I really enjoy the Skyray gunship because it can be very effective, particularly against flying units, which there's a lot out there. We're talking bloat drones. We're talking canoptic wraiths. We're talking Primarchs of all shapes and sizes that can all fly around. The Skyray can be very effective, very efficient. It's just as tough as the Hammerhead, but provides like way easier fire support. The 3 Seeker missiles, strength 14. I mean, it doesn't even bat an eye at things like Land Raiders. So that's why I really enjoy the Skyray, just because of all the rerolls, the twin linked. It's just a fantastic gun platform, and I highly recommend adding one to your list. So this is the Retaliation Cadre list. Now, talking about substitutions, the League does allow you to change detachments and allows you to change up 500 points. So my Tau feel like they could really thrive in that kind of environment because most Tau lists are kind of essential 1,500 points as it is, with about 500 points of flex spots. So I've been running Crisis Suit heavy lists. So if I wanted to switch to something like Monka, which I also think is super, super powerful with the new For the Greater Good rules, I certainly could find a way to do that, even bringing this list, because it's really not too dissimilar to that list. So there's things like that. We could also even go into something like a auxiliary cadre or experimental cadre, which also leans heavy on crisis suits. So I'm kind of intrigued by bringing Tau to this league tournament, just because I'm going to have a lot of flexibility and can really, kind of tailor my list to my opponent that week, which feels kind of unfair. But again, that's the whole league format, is a long-term tournament where you do get to make changes and tweaks. So this is the Retaliation Cadre list that I'm thinking about bringing. You let me know what you think about it down in the comment section. Go ahead and like, and if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We're growing really fast. We made 1,000 subs. I want to thank everybody who's been tuning in, watching, commenting, and thanks for coming back for more Wounded on Sixes.